Picture this. You're 47 years old. You've got a decent job, a mortgage, 2 kids, and a lower back pain that's been bothering you for about 6 months now. At first, you thought it was from sitting at your desk too much. Then maybe you slept wrong. Then maybe you're just getting old and this is what 47 feels like. You take some ibuprofen, ignore it, keep going. But then you start losing weight without trying. 10 pounds in 2 months. Your pants fit better. You think, hey, maybe stress is finally good for something. Then you notice you're tired all the time. Not sleepy tired, exhausted tired, like your body's running on fumes. You're also not hungry anymore. Food just doesn't appeal to you. Your spouse has been nagging you to see a doctor for weeks. You finally go, mostly to get them off your back. You're thinking maybe it's diabetes, or low testosterone, or something fixable with a pill. The doctor runs some tests, blood work, CT scan. You're not worried. You feel fine mostly. Just tired and sore. 2 weeks later, you're back in the doctor's office, and they're using words like mass and pancreas and stage 4. They show you the scan. There's a tumor the size of a golf ball, and it's already spread to your liver. You ask what the treatment options are. The doctor pauses just a little too long before answering. That pause tells you everything you need to know. Oh, hey there. Before we talk about what's growing inside you and how it's going to kill you, let's play a quick game. I will say some myths about cancer, and you tell me true or false. Ready? Myth 1. Cancer always causes pain. So if you're not in pain, you're fine. True or false? False. Early stage cancer is often completely painless. By the time it hurts, it's usually pretty far along. Pain is not a reliable early warning system. Myth 2. If you eat healthy and exercise, you won't get cancer. True or false? False. Healthy habits reduce your risk, but they don't make you immune. Genetics, bad luck, and random cellular mutations don't care about your kale smoothies. Steve Jobs was a billionaire who could afford the best healthcare in the world, and he still died of pancreatic cancer at 56. Myth 3. Chemotherapy cures cancer. True or false? Depends. Sometimes chemo kills the cancer completely. Sometimes it just shrinks it temporarily. Sometimes it does nothing except make you feel like death while the cancer keeps growing anyway. Pancreatic cancer specifically? Chemo usually just buys you a few extra months. Alright, now let's talk about what happens when your own cells decide to mutate, multiply uncontrollably, and slowly shut down your entire body over the course of several months. And just so we're clear, this isn't some rare exotic disease. Cancer is the second leading cause of death globally. 1 in 6 deaths worldwide is from cancer. So yeah, this is common. Disturbingly common. So what is cancer, and why does it kill you in such a slow, methodical way? Cancer isn't one disease. It's hundreds of different diseases that all share the same basic problem. Your cells start multiplying when they're not supposed to. Normally, your cells have a life cycle. They grow, they do their job, they die, they get replaced. It's organized, it's controlled. But sometimes, a cell's DNA gets damaged. Maybe from smoking, maybe from radiation, maybe from a random copying error when the cell divides, maybe from nothing at all. And that damage causes the cell to ignore the normal rules. It stops listening to signals that say, stop growing. It stops dying when it's supposed to. It just keeps dividing, making copies of itself. And those copies make more copies. And suddenly, you've got a tumor. A mass of cells that shouldn't exist, growing where they don't belong. In your case, it's pancreatic cancer. Your pancreas is a little organ tucked behind your stomach that makes enzymes to digest food and produces insulin to regulate blood sugar. It's important, but it's also small and hidden, which is why pancreatic cancer is so deadly. By the time you notice symptoms, the tumor's usually already huge. Here's what makes cancer so brutal compared to other ways of dying. It doesn't kill you directly. The tumor itself isn't stabbing your organs or poisoning your blood. What it does is slowly stealing resources from the rest of your body. Cancer cells are energy hogs. They consume massive amounts of glucose and nutrients, leaving less for your normal cells. This is why you lose weight. Even though you're not trying, your body's literally being eaten from the inside by its own mutated cells. As the tumor grows, it starts pressing on things it shouldn't. In pancreatic cancer, the tumor can block your bile duct, which causes jaundice. Your skin turns yellow because bile backs up into your bloodstream. It can press on nerves, which causes pain. It can block your intestines, which makes eating almost impossible. And then there's metastasis, the spread. Cancer cells break off from the original tumor, travel through your bloodstream or lymphatic system, and set up shop in other organs. Pancreatic cancer loves to spread to the liver, which is exactly what happened to you. Once it's in your liver, it starts destroying liver tissue and replacing it with more tumor. Your liver is responsible for filtering toxins, producing proteins, storing energy, basically keeping you alive. When your liver starts failing, everything starts failing. This is why stage 4 cancer is called terminal. It's not that it's impossible to treat, it's that it's spread so far that you can't remove it all surgically. And chemotherapy can only do so much against billions of cancer cells scattered throughout your body. So to recap, you've got a tumor in your pancreas. It's spread to your liver. It's eating all your nutrients. It's blocking important tubes and pressing on nerves. And it's slowly turning your liver into non-functional tumor tissue. And all of this is happening because one cell somewhere along the line said screw the rules and started copying itself. Let's walk through what the next 6 months of your life look like from diagnosis to death. And just to set expectations, this is going to be grim. Month 1, you've just been told you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The oncologist explains your options: chemotherapy to try to shrink the tumor and buy some time, or palliative care to keep you comfortable while nature takes its course. You choose chemo because you're not ready to give up. You've got kids. You've got things you haven't done yet. Maybe this will work. Maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones. The first round of chemo is rough. They pump toxic chemicals into your bloodstream that are supposed to kill fast-growing cells. Problem is, chemo doesn't distinguish between cancer cells and other fast-growing cells like hair follicles, stomach lining, and bone marrow. Within 2 weeks, you're nauseous constantly. You've lost your appetite completely and your hair starts falling out. You're exhausted. Not just tired, but bone-deep exhausted, like your body's fighting a war, which it is. The back pain is worse now. They give you opioids for it. The pills help, but they make you foggy and constipated, which is a fun addition to the nausea. Month 2 to 3, you've had multiple rounds of chemo. The scans show the tumor hasn't grown, which the doctor frames as good news. What they don't say is that hasn't grown doesn't mean is shrinking. It just means the chemo is keeping it stable for now. You've lost 30 pounds at this point. Your clothes hang off you. People keep telling you that you look thin, using that sympathetic voice that really means you look like you're dying. You are dying, by the way. You know this now. The chemo's not curing anything, it's just delaying. But you keep going, because what else are you supposed to do? Your skin is yellow now. The tumor's blocking your bile duct completely, and they can't fix it because the cancer's wrapped around too many blood vessels. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. The pain is constant. They've upped your opioid dose 3 times. You're on oxycodone and morphine, and it barely touches it. The tumor's pressing on a nerve bundle behind your pancreas, and it feels like someone's stabbing you in the back with a hot knife 24/7. Month 4. The oncologist sits you down and says the chemo isn't working anymore. The tumor's growing despite treatment. It's time to think about hospice care. Hospice isn't giving up, they tell you. It's about quality of life, making you comfortable, spending time with family. All the euphemisms for, we're going to keep you high on morphine until you die. You stop chemo. Honestly, it's a relief. The side effects were almost worse than the cancer itself. Now you're just focusing on pain management and not vomiting. You can barely eat. Solid food makes you nauseous. You're living on Ensure and popsicles, and even that's hard to keep down. You've lost 50 pounds. You look skeletal. You spend most of your time in bed or on the couch. You're too weak to do much else. Friends and family visit and try to act normal, but everyone's crying in the bathroom when they think you can't hear. Your liver is failing now. Toxins are building up in your blood because your liver can't filter them out anymore. You're confused sometimes, forgetful. Your brain's being poisoned by your own body. Month 5 to 6. You're on continuous morphine now through an IV drip. The pain's too bad for pills. You're not really conscious most of the time, just drifting in and out of awareness. Your kidneys are starting to fail. Your urine output has dropped to almost nothing. Your body's shutting down system by system. You're not eating anymore, can't. Your digestive system barely works. They've stopped trying to get you to drink Ensure. At this point, it doesn't matter. Your breathing's getting shallow and irregular. Your lungs are filling with fluid because your heart can't pump effectively anymore. Every breath sounds wet and labored. You're jaundiced, emaciated, barely conscious. The person lying in that bed doesn't look like you anymore. It looks like a body that's already mostly dead, just waiting for the last few systems to shut off. You take one more breath, then nothing. Your heart beats a few more times out of habit, then stops. Time from diagnosis to death, 6 months and 3 days. So what does dying from cancer actually feel like from your perspective? At first, before the diagnosis, it feels like nothing. That's the insidious part. You're tired and your back hurts, but you just think you're getting older. There's no dramatic moment where you realize something's wrong. It's gradual enough that you adapt to it. After diagnosis, it feels surreal. Like they've made a mistake. Like they're talking about someone else. Then chemo starts and it feels like poison. Because it is poison. You're nauseous constantly. Everything tastes like metal. Your body aches. You can't think straight. And you're doing this to yourself voluntarily because the alternative is worse. As the cancer progresses, it feels like your body's betraying you. You used to be able to walk upstairs without getting winded. You used to be able to eat a meal. You used to have energy. Now everything's hard. Everything's exhausting. The pain is the worst part. It's not like stubbing your toe or breaking a bone. That's acute pain that eventually heals. This is chronic, grinding, relentless pain that never stops and only gets worse. Even with morphine, it's there, a constant background noise of suffering. And the weight loss isn't like going on a diet. You're not trying to lose weight. Your body's consuming itself. You can feel yourself getting weaker, smaller, less. Toward the end, it stops feeling like much of anything. The morphine keeps you in a fog. You drift in and out of awareness. Sometimes you're lucid enough to recognize your family. Sometimes you don't know where you are. There's no poetic moment of acceptance or peace. You're just too tired and too drugged to care anymore. You stop fighting because you don't have the energy to fight. And then you just stop. It's not dramatic. Not like dying in a car crash or getting shot. You just gradually fade until there's nothing left. Reality check. Cancer kills about 10 million people every year worldwide. Pancreatic cancer specifically has a 5-year survival rate of about 10%. Most people die within a year of diagnosis. And here's the thing about pancreatic cancer. There's no good early screening test. By the time you have symptoms, it's usually already spread, which is why catching symptoms early matters. But let's talk about something more interesting. Fasting. There's growing research showing that prolonged fasting, we're talking 48 to 72 hours of not eating, can actually make cancer cells more vulnerable to treatment while protecting normal cells. Cancer cells are metabolically different from normal cells. They're addicted to glucose. They need constant fuel to keep dividing. When you fast, your body switches from glucose metabolism to ketone metabolism. Your normal cells adapt fine. Cancer cells don't. They struggle. Some even die off from metabolic stress. Studies have shown that fasting before chemotherapy can reduce side effects and potentially make the chemo more effective because your normal cells go into a protective state while cancer cells stay vulnerable. This isn't a cure. This isn't fast for 3 days and your tumor disappears. But there's legitimate evidence that periodic prolonged fasting can slow cancer growth, reduce cancer risk, and improve treatment outcomes. The reason you don't hear about this much is because you can't patent fasting. There's no money in telling people not to eat, but the research is there if you look for it. Now back to the depressing part. If you ignore symptoms long enough, even preventable cancers become untreatable. That back pain, that weight loss, that fatigue, get it checked before it's too late. Because the difference between catching it early and catching it late is the difference between maybe surviving and definitely dying in a hospice bed. And one more thing, most cancers don't have a single clear cause. Pancreatic cancer especially. Some risk factors like smoking, obesity, diabetes, but plenty of people with none of those still get it. It's random. It's unfair. And it's common enough that you probably know someone who's dealt with it. So there you have it, dying from cancer. Slow, painful, and unfortunately very common. The good news is not everyone gets cancer, and some cancers are very treatable if caught early. The bad news is you can do everything right and still get unlucky. And if you ignore symptoms long enough, even treatable cancers become untreatable. So maybe don't ignore that weird pain or that unexplained weight loss or that lump that wasn't there last month. Go to a doctor, get it checked. Yeah, it's probably nothing. But if it's not nothing, catching it early is the difference between living and spending your last 6 months in agony. And if you're thinking, I don't want to bother my doctor with something that's probably nothing, remember that your doctor would much rather see you for nothing than see you 6 months later when it's stage 4. Like and subscribe if you like this video. Stay safe, get your checkups, and if your body's trying to tell you something's wrong, listen to it. Because the alternative is a 6-month hospice stay that ends with you dying in a morphine haze while your family watches.